Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Just Ride by Red Bull. My name's Rob Warner and I'm alongside this man.
Eliot Jackson.
Well done, he got his name today, that's amazing. And this podcast we're doing today is a little bit different because, oh my goodness me, we haven't got a guest. It's just us, Elliot. How are we going to get through the next?
I mean, I tried to tell you that you shouldn't have scared them off. But
I'm quite looking forward to this.
We lose 1 out of 3 guests. No, I'm just kidding.
It's probably true. But anyway, they don't tell me about it, so I can just carry on.
Man, so I thought it'd be interesting. I've never heard this story, but I thought maybe we start with how we both got into bike. Like,
why not?
I've heard a lot about your World Cup career, but do you remember, can you think way back into like, what was your first memory on a bike?
Way back. I mean, let's go back, not way back.
Okay.
That makes that.
Couple decades.
Whoa. Okay. Well, I mean, I actually feel like we both got into bikes probably in the same way, in that we both really started with motorbikes. I don't know. Did you start with motorbikes? Because I
guess I started at the same time. Like,
did you really?
Well, okay. So I'll go first because, like, I remember. So I was in Oklahoma. That's where I was born. Kind of grew up, and I was maybe 3 or 4 when I got my first bike.
Same.
And my brother. I just rode with my brother. I got my first motorcycle when I was 4, I think.
Yeah, I did. 3.5.
Yeah.
The Talajet 50 also.
What did I have?
won't forget that bike.
I skipped. Did I have a PW? I think I had a PW, little Yamaha.
Yeah.
You'll know it.
Yeah.
So when I got into bikes, it was really, we had a backyard and we would just build jumps. Like, I think back now, I would love to see how small they were, but the whole backyard was full of jumps. We had this one jump that we called the quad. and
sounds ominous.
Yeah, right. No, that's how it was. Like, you came from the top of the backyard, you snaked down or whatever. You jumped. There was a little double and then kind of a bigger roller that you could quad, and I used to fill the double up with water.
Yeah, and proper childhood memories coming back here.
Totally, and the neighborhood kids would come over, and we got this terrible reputation because they would all just die. Like, they would all have these huge crashes and stuff, and the parents would come over and be like, "Dude, what are you guys
bullying?
Why
are you bullying my children?
Are they getting in fights?" It's like, no, they're just trying to ride some jumps.
No, he broke his nose legit on that 40-foot double over there.
Yeah. 4-foot double, probably.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, yeah. So probably a lot of people, especially I feel like that would have gone on into sport, as in the racing side of things. Like we started at an early age. We messed around on bikes. Mine was an Talajet 50. The difference, actually, the massive fundamental difference between us is that mountain bikes probably weren't really invented until I remember my first mountain bike was I was at secondary. I remember this because I did a charity ride, 85 miles, along the Ridgeway Path, this ancient track in the UK. Took us 4 or 5 days. I had a Rally Maverick. I was probably 12, 13 years old.
85 miles?
Yeah, 85 miles. Dad dropped me and this other lad off every morning. Started in Avebury. That night, I think we'd made about 15 miles. So Dad was gutted. He had to drive all the way back to almost, because it goes right by my house.
Yeah.
He almost had to come and get us. Then the next day back to the same spot. It was muddy. It was a disaster. Well, you know what the bike, you probably don't, but the bikes, they had plastic tyres. It was just a disaster. It was the worst attempt at a mountain bike you've ever seen. I mean, it was, I don't even know what it was. It just had a lot of gears, 26-inch wheels, which were, and wide handlebars. But other than that, it doesn't resemble anything like the bikes we ride now. But it was an off-road and all-terrain bike, and it was definitely it was an amazing thing that got me out.
So that was your first
mountain bike.
First mountain bike.
But before that, I'd ridden my entire life since I say 3.5, 4 on motorbikes. Competed at motorbike trials from when I was about 6 or 7.
And were you riding BMX and stuff?
And on the side of that, I've got a lot of pits and rubbish ground, like common land behind my house.
Yeah.
Where you can go and do things like ride bicycles in these bomb holes. And we had track bikes really. Dad worked.
Track bikes,
So Dad worked at Rover Car Factory, and opposite there, my uncle had a motorbike and bicycle shop, and Dad used to bring all the trade-ins home, like road bikes.
Yeah, okay, like I'm thinking of like an actual track. Yeah, no, we called them trackers
because we'd build them with cow-worn handlebars, and change the brake, take the drop bars off.
Wait, like the ones with the what are those? The streamers? Like the ones that roll back?
Not really. No, they'd be more like.
Oh,
like a massively wide sort of riser bar.
Yeah,
probably out of a motorbike back then. I remember making all sorts of shims. I mean, that's what I did. I messed about. And then the rally grifter came along. That was life-changing. Then the rally bomber. And then the rally, because he was a rally dealer, my uncle. So it was all rallies. And then I had rally burner BMXs. I had 14 of them. I remember them all. The ultra burner, the tough burner. Yeah, I used to get through them. I used to smash them to pieces. I was out on them all day, every day. If I wasn't riding motorbikes, I was riding bicycles.
Well, I think that is the thing, right? Is like this, the first experience is always this like sense of freedom. It's like independence. Like the
mountain bike definitely was that, because anything else I was limited to sort of the pits behind my house. But this mountain bike, I was like,
I mean,
wow,
even for me, man.
On Thames and back, it's 8 miles away.
I wasn't riding 85 miles. But.
No.
Yeah, because I didn't. So I rode dirt jumps. Like I was, doing my motocross thing or whatever, but almost just as much we would build dirt jumps. And so like BMX, I never raced or anything like that.
What year was this then? Because I'm talking, when I got my first mountain bike, as I said, it was like 84.
Well, so
there was no dirt jumps for mountain bikes.
Well, I didn't get my first mountain bike until I was 18. And that was 2008. Yeah. So all the way up until then, I was just riding BMX bikes.
25 years after I got my first one. Are we sure we want to do this podcast? I feel like it's dating me a little bit here right now.
Just a bit of a generational gap. Yeah, no.
Father and son chat.
But it is actually, it is funny because we were actually having this chat with Craig where the bikes. I'm really glad that I didn't get into mountain bikes earlier because they were a bit rough. They
were terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, they were, that one I told you about was early 80s. And then, I don't think they'd got much better. I went to my first. So my career path into mountain bike racing was messing about on bicycles, being as full-time at motorcycle trials as I could be. That was my sport. That's what I did. And then I went and did a few fun races, like there were a race around an ice rink in London. I beat Jason McCroy, who was like the pro at the time.
Janky.
Yeah, just janky. Slalom. I beat Hans Ray at this slalom.
Oh my God.
Yeah, all of a sudden in my head, I was big news. You know what I mean? I'd taken down Hans Ray.
Yeah.
So, and I got a little bike deal, and it was a hard tell. And I went to the World Championships in Metabier in '93 with an elastomer fork that even with the stiffest elastomers in, which meant if you pushed on them, they wouldn't move. Every time you landed off a jump, the tyre would rub the bridge on the forks, and it was like the front. Honestly, it was like nearly over the bars off every jump. Yeah, I mean, it was just the worst. But it was also just the start of. Do you know what? It probably never got better than that day, though. When I turned up in Metabier in 1993 with a bike someone had given me, and went racing for the first time with no inhibitions, no expectations. Totally. It was just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it really makes me think because it's something I think a bunch about now is kind of like the entry point and kind of the opportunities and how you feel on a bike. Like for me, I never would have discovered mountain bikes like just by happenstance. One of my friends, Christian, that I met at the dirt jumps, he was riding mountain bikes, and we used to make fun of him because mountain bikes were super lame.
They were. That's right.
We were like, oh, we're BMX or whatever.
Absolutely as lame, and there was a massive divide between BMX and we hated each other.
Yeah, for sure. We were like, why would I ever? And he was like, you have to come and ride downhill. Like you have to come. And he convinced me. He's trying to convince me. And I went with him. And then I ended up going up to Whistler. And so I always think of this moment. And so now one of the projects that I work on a bunch is after I stopped racing, I started a nonprofit called Grow Cycling Foundation. And it is around that, right? I just believe that the bike is the best tool in the entire world to make a positive impact in the world. You think about all of the things that we've done in our life, travel the world, compete for our countries, like talk on Red Bull TV to like millions of people. We make a living, like you make films, like all of this stuff happens because of the bike, and like all of the people around us are in the places that they are because of the bike.
All my friends ride
All
bikes.
my friends,
I haven't really got any friends that don't, to
Totally,
be quite honest,
right.
you know, in some way or shape or form.
Yeah, it's like this health and everything like that.
Do you
and
know
so,
what? Still to this day, like an event, a motorbike or a mountain bike event, they're like, I feel different at them. I feel great at them.
Yeah.
Like, I feel more relaxed than I do at anywhere else in the world. Like I feel it's my sort of, it's where I'm supposed to be almost. Like I love being actually more at motorbike events, if I'm honest, because that's what I did since I was 3. But
for sure,
you know, I just feel more at ease. Is the word when I'm at a bike race or a motorbike race. No doubt about it. I love it.
Totally.
I love it, man.
And that was kind of the thought, was like, not everyone gets to experience that, right? Like if it wasn't to be for this like chance experience, my parents didn't ride mountain bikes. Nobody around me rode mountain bikes. Nobody, like my culture, none of my friends or whatever.
No,
and so
that's right.
With Grow, it was kind of like, how do you provide more opportunities, whether it's like for people of color or, you know, women, or these people that maybe don't ever have that influence into their life. Like that was one of the things, even for me riding at the World Cups, like I was like one of the only Black people to start at a World Cup. And that's like fine, but it was interesting. I just think about it
You're
because
right. Why?
I think why is because you just like so the first thing that we did was build a pump track in Inglewood, which is like kind of a classic LA city. It's like that, you know, they just held the Super Bowl. You think of like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and
I
people
know all
like
about
that.
Inglewood. But only through rap.
Yeah, totally. Well, yeah,
Hip-hop, right?
totally.
Really, yeah.
And so we raised like $1.2 million.
You did not.
Yeah.
You raised 1.2 million.
Totally.
Congratulations.
Thank
Fair
you.
play.
And we put a pump track, like LA's first pump track in Inglewood. And so like in the space of like 5 million people, it's the only pump track. It's the only dedicated cycling space. Like around that community, there's no bike lanes. You probably wouldn't want to put a like 12-year-old kid on a bike lane anyway. But like, that's kind of what I mean of like, if you live in Inglewood, you're just never exposed to bikes. You're never exposed to, you never have the opportunity. And so it's not so much anything else beside, hey, here's this thing that I think is really amazing. It's provided such good, it's done such good for me. It's done such good for so many people that I know, you know, save lives, mental health, like all of these different things. You can do it until you're 80 or 90 years old.
Yeah.
If you want to check it out, all good. If you don't, no worries. But at least you should be able to check it out.
Absolutely. And that really, but that was actually at that period when you started doing all that stuff as well. And I remember we started, do you remember we were chatting to Phil Young?
Yeah.
Who is just like this ultra amazing dude in London. And I chatted, because I know you wanted to speak to him. And I spent some time chatting to him, kind of like, Eliot's doing this, what do you think about it? I go back a long way with Phil Young. He used to be a TV presenter and all that. And, you know, he's a man of colour. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, like, he basically explained it to me, the situation with, like, people not having access to bikes. That, you know, most of the people of colour in London were brought over from Jamaica, I believe. If I don't get my facts completely straight, apologies, to rebuild London after the Second World War, right? And was it the Windrush scandal or something they've called it? Mm-hmm. Again, apologies if I got this wrong. But he said that, like, most of those kids in the inner cities have never, ever been out of the inner cities. They've never seen, he said to me, most of them have never seen a cow in the wild. And I was like, what? I live 45 minutes out of London and I'm surrounded by this stuff. Right. And that absolutely blew my mind and really, I don't live in a city, so I don't know that feeling. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, I could see it, and it brought home just what you delivered. Like, you know, and we said at the time, if you can't take the people to the mountains, then bring the bloody mountains into the cities and get the kids on the bikes there. And like you said, mate, like, there's probably nothing on earth should be more accessible
than a bicycle.
Totally. Right?
Yeah, they've done some great work. Like Trey White, you know, they built a BMX track in London.
That's right, they did. And they've had massive success
totally.
and gone on to the Olympics. And
totally.
Exactly.
We kind of found that same thing where we had opening day and we expected, maybe 200 people or whatever. And we had over 1,000 people show up, people from the community. I remember talking to a kid. He was like, yeah, I heard about this through the city. My friend told me he heard from his teacher, blah, blah, blah. Like, never heard of me, never heard of Grow or anything like that. And he told his mom he was going to come over. And she was like, no, like, there's no way. It's too dangerous for you to go that far. He said, no, Mom, like, this is 3 blocks away. And she was like, okay. And it's in the public park. And so now this kid can go and ride the pump track whenever he wants and ride his bike there.
That's amazing.
And so, like, that's kind of what we're talking about, because how would that kid go 45 minutes away?
It wouldn't, because it's not on anyone. It's not saying anyone's bad or not taking care of it. Like,
why would you do that?
Yeah, that's
why
right.
would you do that?
It's just not on the. Like, you don't even think about it. No, you
well,
just
I mean,
get
it's
up,
just
yeah.
like, I could go and surf or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I don't do that.
No,
Like,
that's right. These things they need to be in front of you almost. Yeah,
it needs
that's
to be
right.
accessible. So yeah,
That's right, and get that like spark ignited, and then off you go.
Totally. So that's been one of the things that I've been really enjoying, and like I always see my role, like I think of us as like infrastructure, like plenty of people doing amazing things like on the awareness side, but like once you decide to ride, how do you do it? And it's just been something, I almost kind of, it's like just super fulfilling to me. And so I love doing the work almost behind the scenes. Like, obviously you have to.
Yeah, you like putting it together.
I just like to do the work. I just like to make
But then you get the amazing feeling at the end of it.
Totally.
I suppose, right? The reward is, it. Yeah.
For sure.
What are you doing next then with the Grow Cycling Foundation?
Well, we crazily, we just had this LA Times article come out, which was super, I guess, validating and stuff like that. Yeah, they like did a big journalistic piece on us. And we're doing, we're holding like a conference actually at Crankworks Whistler. It's going to be, like I started going to these conferences and I was like, man, they're normally pretty lame.
Do you like them?
Well,
I know, because you said to me you've been to conferences, and actually, to be honest, I didn't like to ask what of, because I know. Well, what are you doing at a conference?
It's just like some people are on stage, they're talking about whatever their expertise is, and then you're in the audience, but they're usually like thousands of dollars or whatever, and I'll
go.
Yeah, I won't. I mean, like I'll go because I don't normally pay, because like I'll just go through like the nonprofit, and people will help me out or whatever. But I was like, man, like what if we just switch this around? Like, why don't we put like athletes on the stage? Why don't we put like some parents and kids in the audience? We can bring in some people from local community, and then like have like some industry there, because like athletes, I think, don't get to share all of themselves.
No,
right?
It's
like
difficult.
Well, yeah, because you like see them behind their helmet and things like that. But so many athletes are more than that, right? Like as soon as you switch out of riding, like now you're a commentator and you make films and all of these things and you have ideas. And so it's really about like giving them a platform and then giving the next generation. Like when I started racing, I think I told that story last time we did one of these. Like I went to Italy to my first World Cup and I brought a multi-tool. And I had no idea what to do. And so like, and I didn't know anyone, right? And so like, we want to have things where it's like, hey, this is how you get sponsored. This is how you create content. This is like we're having a women's panel that Red Bull is like sponsoring around Joyride. And brilliant. It's like, what does that look like? Like, how do I get into that? Yeah. And all of like the young girls coming up, being able to see themselves on stage. And we're calling it Aspire. So it's like you have this badge and it's like aspiring World Cup racer or filmmaker or whatever. And so when like now I talk to you, or like if you get like aspiring broadcaster, you'd be like, oh yeah, hey, like I know a thing or two about broadcast.
I'd actually class myself as an aspiring broadcaster. I'm still really trying.
Yeah, totally.
But that's the fun of it, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's been really cool. It's been
brilliant.
like
Good for you.
It's really nice. It's like a fun thing to do in my spare time, and yeah, it's cool.
Good for you, mate. I'm pumped for you. That's really good. It's going so well. Yeah.
In thinking about that, it really made me think about some of the, I mean, I guess I call them like perfect moments that you've had on a bike.
Wow.
One of the ones that I think about a lot is
you got me thinking now.
2 years ago. We were in Leger. I was with you actually. I was in Leger. I brought my downhill bike, and the World Championships week is super long, and a lot of riders will go there. This place called Morzine. It's the best place in the world to ride downhill.
You love it.
I love it. And I was with Finn Isles, Lucas Shaw, Lucky Stevens McNabb, and we were riding, and like a bunch of the other downhill dudes like kind of came in and out, and we were just like lapping this trail. It was super steep. Like I crashed a bunch, and it was like 2 years ago. And so like Finn and Luca were going fast, and I was like, I'm going to keep up with them. I'm going to risk my life to like keep up. So they were like chilling, and it was like my world championships or whatever. But the trails were just like so good. Afterward, we were hanging out, I had a, gin and tonic, just like thinking about all the stuff that we wanted to do, like perfect sunset. And then that same week, it was like the last world championships that I commentated.
Was it?
Yeah. And we killed it. It was the first one. It was the World Championships in Leger. And
I remember it.
100,000 people there. We crushed it. Like I thought we did such a good job on commentary. And so it was this like perfect week around the bike, like riding the bike, being with friends, like we were talking about, like doing this thing after the bike, like communicating. It was so cool.
It wrapped up. It all came together.
So good.
It was the mintest week ever.
Yeah.
Which is right. Leger Worlds.
Yeah.
It should be that.
Yeah.
It should be that. I feel like I'm on the spot here to think of a good, perfect moment. I'm really struggling. I
feel like we were talking about it too. Like you had talked about how there is this thing as an athlete where you have to do well and then you get to have fun. And so it's like this trying really hard. Like when you were talking about like with you and Palmer, and you're like racing.
Oh yeah. Well, if there was a perfect period in my life, and actually it was probably the most unperfect period of my life, right? Because I was a wreck. I was reckless. I mean, we were loose. We were. But the whole period of mountain biking for me as a pro, when I was actually on Team Giant, and I was trying, and then Palmer turned up. Sean Palmer came from snowboarding. Yeah. And we thought we were good at partying. We thought we were the absolute bee's knees. We could top 10 World Cups, a few of us. Yeah. And then even do it after a big night of being on the dance floor till about 5 a.m. And that was how we rolled. And then Palmer came along and took it to another level. like we were amateurs. There was like, all of a sudden, we were cruising in between races in $1 million chrome bus with flames down the side. Oh my God. Yeah, we were getting, people would knock on the door and like, what's the band? I remember Palmer shouting out. He always used to open the door with, and at this point he had like the middle of his hair shaved down. He'd be like, "We're fungus, man. We're from the UK."
And he wasn't even. He's from the US.
But the moment, that whole, and I probably couldn't talk about many of the stories. But that whole time of just the absolute kind of excesses of success.
It's funny. That's what I was going to say. It's almost young, the extremes on both sides. Like, excessive success at racing, but also just like, I don't know, living life to the fullest almost.
And also, there was also, though, for me, and probably for Palmer as well, I mean, he ain't stupid, we also knew that
it wasn't going to last forever.
We knew it was going to last forever, but we also knew that, like, we could be like that. Palmer once said to me after something, I mean, we were bad. We were bad. We were naughty, should we say. The night after the race, there was, like, undercover police following us around, brought in by resorts. We were. It was like that. That ain't even a joke. But he said to me once, "We can only do this when we're top 5 or 10 in the world, man. Otherwise, we're going to look stupid." And I was like, he's right.
Yeah,
you can't. Right. It doesn't have any impact if you're 60th in the world. I've got to stay top 10. So that was a good motivator to stay there as well. I mean, it was a mad time. Really. Mad time. Brilliant time.
Man, and it's funny you like talk about that. Like one of the other things that I feel like there's always this like duality, because now, obviously, we do this podcast, we do, Beyond the Line, we do the commentary, but then you also make your own films.
I've got into that.
Yeah, I think that people don't really know how much you do. Like,
Well, I try, but I mean, so...
Because wait, like just tell a story around making these last 2 films that you did. Like you did one in Guatemala
and one in Mexico before that.
Mexico.
Yeah, so obviously doing what we do, we're around people who make films all the time. I've done a lot of films for Red Bull. I've done a lot of series for Red Bull. And then during lockdown, I got into YouTube a bit, like probably like everyone else. You sort of had to keep your deals going a bit. There was no option.
You would be stressed.
And
You'd be like, I gotta...
people and I started, I don't know. Anyway, and I started getting a feel for what I wanted in making a film. And then actually, when I re-signed with Giant, I haven't been with them for a long time, they gave me budget to make a couple of films every year. And I was like, oh my God.
It's going to be great.
Really?
Yeah.
This is amazing. Thank you. Yeah. So weirdly enough, I ended up going to Mexico City a couple of years ago to do a film with Hans Ray, one of his urban adventures. And on that film, I got on very well with his fixer, Mao, who is...
Fixer.
Look, the dude on the ground in Mexico, the fixer, TV
Oh my goodness.
He's the guy that fixes everything, like literally on. I'll get to it in a minute, but he's the guy that he's your man on the ground.
Yeah, okay.
He's the guy that speaks the language. He's the guy who knows where everything. He fixes everything. I mean, that's what he does. So
literally.
And I'd met him through there, and then I thought, I've got this money. I need to make a film. We'd lost the World Cup. It was a fairly emotional film, the first one. Much more. I didn't realise till I gave it to Giant, and they said, what a personal journey that is. I was like, what do you mean it's a comedy? And they were like, it's pretty deep. And I was just like, yeah, shit. I was further down the rabbit hole than I thought. Well, I booked flights. I mean, the first thing you've got to realise is that you're taking someone's money and you're spending it and you're not getting anything back for a long time. And it is massive pressure. Yeah. And the money I get isn't actually enough. Well, I could go and recce it, but then the film wouldn't be as good. So I just take all the money and I rang up Mao and I goes, I'm coming over to do a film. Yeah. I found a Giant rider there that I could use in the film as well. I said to Mao, you're going to have to be in it a bit. And I turn up and I met a filmmaker in Whistler. So he came along. I'd never worked with Nick Van Berkel before. He was like a last minute kind of thing that he turned up. He is amazing. So we clicked there as well. And actually, probably Nick or the bloke you're making the film with is so crucial. It's their film. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, even though I'm directing or whatever and doing a script, they're making it. They, you can't, the edit is almost the biggest influence in any film, I would say. Right. But I never turn up with a script. I turn up with an idea. I was like, I'm going to make a return to World Cup racing. And what was the plot? The plot was like, I'm going to start like wandering around like I'm down and out on the streets of Mexico, and I brought a coffee bag from home. I put on a wig to do that. And then basically we kind of just worked from there, and we found out, I was like, I want a religious experience or something along those, like a culture. So we got a shaman involved, and I went and met a shaman, and then there was a race, but we had to organise the race. You organised your own race? So from the UK via Mao, basically I didn't organise nothing. I sent him a little bit of money, and we bought some timing so that because he said no one's going to turn up for a race if there's no timing. And I was like, we don't actually need a race. It's fake. We're making a film. So we had timing up there. Yeah, and honestly, it's done on the cuff, like off the cuff rather, throughout the day. And so perhaps we shot the first bit of me walking around the streets in that coffee bag, and then that night I'd go, right, and I probably wrote the VO for it that night, there and then, and then I knew that I had a basis then, so then it goes from there. And we just roll with it and go. There's a few, I know where we're going to go. Yeah. And then we went to Guatemala to do part 2, which hasn't come out yet. I've just seen the first draft of it. And that was the same thing. Turned up, new fixers, new people on the ground, new everything. Marcelo Gutierrez came along, Giant rider. And we just went for it. I mean, we were absolutely hanging, long days. Ended up at volcanoes at 30,500 meters.
I think it's crazy. I think that you get almost...
It's stressful.
It's stressful, probably too, because we get to do all this Red Bull stuff, and
everything's taken care of.
Everything's taken care of, and it's at a super high level. Yeah. And so when you go and do your stuff, you're like, okay, well, there's when we do everything, like when we do a Beyond the Line, there's a producer behind the scene who is really kind of the storyteller and pulling everything together. Yeah. You have the camera people who are not only shooting, but they also have to say okay, what's the best way to capture this? And then there's, another, an executive producer that is saying, what's the story? And so then that's you and I kind of working with what we're going to say. And when you're doing it on your own, you play all of those roles.
Well, that's right. And And it's, I mean, that's what I'm saying, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'll be riding along, I don't know, and I'll be like, you know, you'll see something, you'll be like, right, should we get the cameras out? I'm going to ride up here, do this. You know, and then I'm thinking of the dialogue, and also, you know, and all the pieces. So when you add voiceover, that takes a bit of the stress out because the links you do on there and then don't.
Yeah.
So
Well, even you have to think of that. Like, how do I get from me at the end of a race at the finish line to like some?
It's hard. It's such a challenge, but also it's your own film and you can go where you want with it. So there's unbelievable freedom.
Yeah.
And people don't really notice what you miss out.
Yeah.
It's an amazing. I puzzle and I love it.
Yeah.
I love putting a film together. I do.
Yeah.
And I came back from Guatemala and like I'd been there 8 days.
Yeah.
And you know, that last day I had a night puking and the next day I lost a day and I was panicking because you know, every day counts.
Yeah.
We need everything.
Yeah,
But we got it. We got
yeah.
it. And that feeling of getting on that plane.
Just
Like,
pure relief.
It's done. Yeah, it's done. We've got it
yeah.
now. We know in the edit that's going to come together, and that's going to be an all right film, hopefully. You know,
Totally.
Yeah. And then I love the process now of working the edit
Right.
and really
Yeah,
adding in all the
yeah.
VO and working the script. Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, it's not really a script. I knock it up on
Well,
my phone.
yeah,
but
it's same. I mean, it's the same. Like when
Yeah.
I'm doing something like a little pre-link or something like that for a pre-show. But one of the
But
things
I love it because this is like the natural course of my life.
Well,
from
that's what I was
biking
gonna
into
say.
this.
Yeah,
and
like,
I love it.
one
It goes
of-
together with it.
Exactly. Like I feel like one of the reasons I've always ridden the bike is like for a purpose. And the purpose used to be like racing the World Cups. And I haven't done any like bike related film, like me riding in a long time. And I just did something.
Oh, here we go. He's opening up on this. He's admitting to riding a bike, everyone.
You know what? I'll even say something that like we're gonna show some clips. Of
What?
me
Are you in
riding.
action?
Yeah.
Can't
Well,
wait.
there was like it's so funny because like I was saying, I haven't produced a riding film in probably. I did a Red Bull
Speed of Sound?
Yeah.
When was
Sound
that?
of Speed.
17?
That was 17.
So is that the last one? 7 years ago. He's a professional rider.
Like pure me. Like
yeah, riding. Yeah,
this is focused on me riding. It's probably that video actually.
Wow, you were under pressure too then.
That's how I felt. I was like, do I remember how to do this? And it was funny because there was this first day where I shot with Scott Secco, and the idea that we had, or that he had, because I had never done it before, was shoot cable cams. So the idea is that you hook these, literally a cable, up between two trees, put this kind of zip line thing on, hang a camera off of it, and then you run it, and it's these really long shots, which also means a really long push. And so I was on my e-bike. I was on like lightweight Santa
Is that
Cruz
what you
e-bike.
shot on a lightweight e-bike? Well, let's talk about those in a moment because I just got one.
Yeah. And
What are you doing pushing that back up? You couldn't ride up.
It's too steep. I'm riding steep stuff.
So it's
I was
the
riding
worst of
steep
both
stuff.
worlds.
I
A powered bike that is just heavy to push uphill.
I was dying. But then the day turned from like the worst day ever to like this amazing day. Like I was riding this section and it was so fun. There's like I couldn't get enough. Like
So it's worth the push back up.
Oh my God. Like I couldn't get enough. And like I was so dead. One of the filmers was like, "We need a couple more shots," and he would push my bike up.
Phil's factory though. I haven't had that since 1996.
It was so bad. But in my defense, we had done like probably 35 laps, and we filmed for 5 days.
Did you 5 days?
Yeah, it was a long one.
And how long was the edit?
2 minutes.
It's going to be a good 2
Yeah,
minutes.
it's super good. I'm super proud of it. But it just kind of reminded me, there was a bunch of times while I was doing that, like I said, like riding for this purpose of creation, you know, like of like trying to do something, trying to, you know, put my back tire in the perfect place, trying to make my body look a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool. It's so much fun. And it really, it made me think like, oh, I remember why, like, I loved racing so much.
Yeah, because that's right. As you said it, I was like, yeah, that sounds a lot like,
Right.
like you got to be exact. It's got to be perfect.
Yeah,
it's got to be as good as you can get it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
no,
like
those
that.
challenges
Like,
are amazing, aren't they?
I think that is like, and it doesn't have to be like, I'm not like a type A person or whatever, but I do love that like intensity and focus or whatever. And it's pretty easy. It's much easier when you have an e-bike, I will say that.
Yeah, and I mean, I just got my first. So if it wasn't for e-bikes, I wouldn't be a mountain biker right now, right?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Because when I signed off racing in 2008, I didn't ride a mountain bike for 6 years.
Yeah.
And then I got into, someone gave me an e-bike.
Yeah.
And that was the start of me riding a lot again. And I've loved them. And they are life-changing. And I think for a mountain bike, the inefficiency of a mountain bike, suspension bikes, whatever, then I think they're absolutely just perfect. That they've got an electric motor on there, quiet, just enough power to assist you, you know?
Yeah.
But now they are, and I didn't think it at the time until I got this new giant Trance Elite, they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Super lightweight e-bike, full power, but so much lighter. Mainly because of the battery. Instead of having an 800 watt battery in there, you've got this super light 400 watt battery in there.
Yeah.
So you've got less range, but my goodness me.
Feels like a bike.
It feels like a bike. It feels like a bicycle. It's
Yeah.
full power up, and then on the way down, like it pumps. In fact, I'm still not used to it. It feels too lively for me, and that's purely because
totally.
Yeah, it does. I'm not at ease on it yet. If I'm going fast, to be honest.
I never really got into the full, like the big e-bikes. Like I tried a couple, but I couldn't really. Wasn't super down. But like, these new kind of lightweight, like bike style stuff. I don't know. Yeah, it makes me think too. Like, what do you have planned? Like, do you have maybe you have like an ambition that you think about now? Like, I don't know.
Going forwards with bikes or not with bikes?
I don't know. We've been talking about all this stuff, and
it's annoying. There's loads of things I'd love to do.
Yeah.
But probably will never get around. I don't know. I mean, my biggest problem, I'm limited mainly by how many injuries I've had now, and that is a little frustrating. It doesn't limit me too much on bicycles, but it probably limits me in the way I can prepare for, I don't know, maybe a bit, you know, like 19 broken bones, 13 surgeries I've had now.
But the only bone that I've broken is my thumb, and it wasn't even on my bike, so.
I'm going, you were much better at motocross than me. But I don't know what my ambitions more these days, because I didn't have like I said, in the Just Ride podcast I did, like I didn't really see mountain bike. I did bad at school. I didn't see mountain biking as a career. I just saw it as a sport that paid me and I loved it. Yeah. But this, being a commentator, being a presenter is my, that's what I love doing. Yeah. And there I have goals. Yeah, of course. I want to keep going with it. I want to see where it can take me. This is what I do, and this excites me more than riding a bicycle ever did. Quite honestly, in like a work, it's a different totally sort of side of life. But but I just for the first time ever, I've got a job and it's cool. That I like, and I can actually hold on to it a bit, So I'm down with this and going forwards. And, the World Cup went.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Maybe we could finish this off as. What are your thoughts on this World Cup season? So, like, as we're recording this now, I don't know when this will come out, but I would love to know. We just had Fort William, the first World Cup. Let's do a little couple minute preview of what we think is going to happen during the season.
From what I know from Fort William, we're going to see perhaps. I heard, I wasn't there, that 4 of the 5 bikes on the Men Elite's podium had a lockout on them. Really? So that would be the Canyons.
Okay.
And Specialized, right? Now, Bruni, we know, has had a lockout of some, even since years ago when we raced down in Portugal. I remember commentating on it. You could see the light come on the bars on that last sprint in. So it was definitely a compression setting, I'd imagine, right? Yeah. But now it seems Fort William, where the jumps at the bottom are built now, there's not that much pedalling, but you're still going to carry more speed with locked out. So maybe a lot more when you don't get the compressions on the landings and now. So that was, I definitely took that from it. Interesting.
That was, it's super.
It's not a new technology. I raced Chateau Day with it in 2008 or something in Switzerland. No crap. Yeah, we had lockout on bikes then. Yeah. Yeah.
Ahead of his time.
Yeah. No, we did. It wasn't a button you pushed. It was more like a lever and some pulleys. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Pulling on a rope.
Yeah.
All right, let's lock the suspension out.
It was, it makes me think, I feel like every year people say this of like, people are going faster. But Fort William, I think, has been the same for so long, and they changed the track a decent amount this year.
Yeah.
Like straighten out the bottom. There wasn't really even that much pedaling at the bottom. I felt like so many people were more aggressive, like riding more aggressive.
Yeah.
You know, this is like this downhill World Cup, and like you said, it's always so unpredictable, right? Like we had, you know, Finn Isles, we had Loic Bruni as his first time winning. We had, you know, Luca Shaw up there.
Yeah, amazing.
And it was great to see in the women too, like Tawny Seagrave coming back, like getting I think she won semifinals.
Won the first quali, I think.
Qualifying.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And then third, wasn't she, in the main event?
Yeah.
Which is an amazing her comeback continues.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. And I always just think it's, athletes are capable of like more than you imagine, and then just like new generation of some of these kids, it's just insane.
Well,
like,
Asa Vametti.
Yeah.
I mean, how old is he? First year junior.
First year. And
came out, won the juniors.
Yeah.
Made to me more impressive by the fact that he's not on a factory team, he's on Nico's team.
Yeah.
On, you know, the steel work. What's it called? The frameworks.
Frameworks.
Bike.
Yeah.
I mean, a bike designed and built by
Nico.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's incredible.
I know,
and that
I love
time
it.
would have put him 11th, I believe, 11th or somewhere in elite. So the sport, it does appear, continues. Like Jackson Goldstone was one thing. The sport is continuing to get younger because obviously kids are starting younger, I guess. Yeah. Which also, to me, makes Bruni's win even more impressive. I thought he'd have quit by now.
Yeah.
But he's still winning. He's still the boy.
Okay, so I want your prediction, top 3 men and top 3 women, and we'll finish it off there. And I'll do one too.
What, for
overall
in this year's World Cup. Oh,
let's see.
Well, we're going to start with the women.
Okay.
Valley with a win.
Yeah.
Cami second overall.
Yeah.
Tani third overall.
Yeah, that's a safe one.
I went safe.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally went safe.
But it is reasonable as well.
It's decent.
Okay.
It's not unrealistic.
I'm gonna go for the women. I'm gonna go Valley first, Nina Hoffman second, and Camille third.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Going with the men.
Oh, do you want to go first on the men?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Oh, I love this.
I'm gonna go. I'm going to go Finn Isles first.
For the overall World Cup
For
win.
the overall. And I'm going to go...
That is strong.
I'm going to go Loic second.
Oh, that's just made it a lot worse. He's already offended that team, I remember, in the past.
And
going for it again.
And then, who is my number 3? I'm going to go... oh, man, it could be so many people.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with an American. I'm going to say it's either going to be Luca or Dakota Norton.
One. Which one?
Okay. Oh, man. I'm going to... What do we have? What tracks are this year? Do I want to go with the high rise, old boy, or... I got to go with Luca just because he's my mate.
He's your homeboy.
He's my homie.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, he rode well at round 1.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. All that experience, all that skill, Bruni showed it in Fort William. I'm going to go for him with the overall.
Okay,
and that's
another one.
Another one, right on. Yeah, that's right. Although last year was his first.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's the surprising thing with him.
Right. Okay,
he's had almost as many world titles as he has World Cup wins.
That's true.
Yeah. But he'll defend that title this year.
Okay.
You better, Bruni. I said that. And I love Bruni. He's French, which makes it even more difficult to love him. But but I have to admit, to me, he is the number 1 rider. The fastest rider of this modern era.
For sure. He's on next level.
He really is, yeah. That's right. He's incredible. Second, I'm going to go for, oh my goodness me. Whoa, this is tricky. Ronan Dunn.
Oh, that's a good call, actually.
He wasn't bad at
He
round
wasn't
one.
bad,
And that, I would say,
bad.
no, I don't know.
Can he be consistent? But
That's
he's got
right.
the speed. I will say wild card for me is that he'll get a win this year.
Yeah, I think he'll get a win this year.
Yeah.
I mean, easier said than done.
Yeah.
But he's got the pace.
Yeah.
He proved that at hard line. Third overall, you told me I was safe on I'm going to go risky on the men. Bernard Kerr.
Oh, that's a good call. That's a great call.
It's out there, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, that is a great call. Yeah. All right, let's see how good we do. We'll have a report card at the end of the season.
Yeah, we will. We'll replay this and have a look at this. Yeah, definitely.
Rob, good talking to you.
Nice to catch up, Eliot. Yeah,
We'll do it again soon.
We will.